When we talk about transformation, when we talk about change that lasts, it never begins with action alone. It begins with vision. Vision is the picture of the future that keeps you moving forward even when the present is hard. It is the spark that lights the fire of progress and the compass that keeps you from wandering off course. Without vision, effort becomes scattered, energy becomes wasted, and time slips through our hands without producing anything of lasting value. But when there is one clear vision, everything begins to align. Decisions have direction. Choices have meaning. Sacrifice has purpose. A unified vision is not just a statement written down or words repeated out loud. It is a conviction deep within the heart. It's the kind of conviction that wakes you up in the morning with determination and lays you down at night with peace. When you know where you're going, you can endure what you're going through. You can push through the obstacles because you see beyond the moment. Vision lifts your eyes from the present struggle and allows you to glimpse the future promise. That's why vision is so powerful. It doesn't just tell you what to do, it shows you who you can become. Think about those who have shaped history, not because they had all the resources, not because they had all the opportunities, but because they had a vision that nothing could shake. The vision gave them the courage to begin, the strength to endure, and the focus to finish. Vision takes an ordinary life and infuses it with extraordinary purpose. And when a vision is shared, when it is not just one person, but a people united around it, then that vision becomes unstoppable. Now, one vision doesn't mean many directions. It means alignment. It means unity of heart and unity of purpose. It means the small decisions that are made day after day begin to build towards something greater than the moment. Vision removes the distractions that keep us from progress. It silences the noise of doubt and reminds us why we started in the first place. When you have one vision, you no longer chase every opportunity that comes your way. You choose only what brings you closer to the future you've been called to build. But vision also requires discipline. It's one thing to dream. It's another to stay faithful to that dream when the years stretch long and the results seem slow. A 10-year transformation doesn't come from chasing one vision today and another tomorrow. It comes from holding steady to the one vision that was given, even when others doubt, even when it costs you, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Vision is what keeps you grounded when the winds of change blow against you. It is what holds you steady when life whispers that you should let go. And there's something about one vision that calls for sacrifice. Because if everything stays comfortable, transformation never comes. Vision asks you to give up what is temporary so you can gain what is eternal. It asks you to lay aside lesser pursuits so you can embrace something greater. It asks you to trust that the discomfort of today is shaping the destiny of tomorrow. That is the power of vision. It gives you the courage to endure what others avoid because you see what others cannot see. The beauty of one vision is that it doesn't just transform the individual, it transforms the community. When people unite around a shared purpose, when they walk together with one heartbeat, they accomplish more than they ever could alone. One vision gathers strength in numbers, and it turns individual effort into collective momentum. It's the picture that rallies hearts, strengthens hands, and inspires sacrifice. It is what keeps people moving in the same direction when the road gets long. So when we speak of one vision, 10 years, total transformation, we're not talking about a vague idea or a shallow ambition. We're talking about a calling that gives direction to our days, purpose to our steps, and strength to our souls. Because when you have one vision, you don't just endure the journey, you embrace it, knowing that every step, every sacrifice, and every season is leading you closer to the transformation that was promised from the very beginning. That is the power of a unified vision. 10 years may sound like a long stretch of time when we first say it, but when you step back and look at the rhythm of life, it is really just a chapter in a much bigger story. And like every chapter, it begins with a seed being planted. You don't see the fullness of the tree on day one. You don't taste the sweetness of the fruit the moment it's sown. You place the seed in the ground, you cover it, and then you wait. And in that waiting, something is happening, something unseen, something that requires faith. That seed is breaking open, it is putting down roots, and though it may not look like much at first, it is preparing for growth that will one day be undeniable. That is how transformation works. It never starts with the spotlight. It doesn't announce itself with fanfare or applause. It begins quietly in the hidden places with a seed. And the truth about seeds is that they always grow according to their kind. If you plant a vision rooted in faith, in purpose and sacrifice, then over time it will bear fruit in those very things. But if nothing is planted, nothing will grow. That is why the choices we make at the beginning of a journey matter so much. 10 years from now, the transformation we see will be the direct result of the seeds we chose to plant today. The challenge is that seeds don't grow overnight. And we live in a world that doesn't like to wait. We want instant progress, immediate results, and quick victories. But real transformation refuses to be rushed. Just as the farmer waits for the rain, just as the soil must be watered again and again before the sprout pushes through, so must we learn patience. A decade may feel slow to our hurried minds, but in the scope of legacy, it is just the right pace for lasting change. Because what grows too quickly often cannot stand the test of time. But what grows deep before it grows tall will endure the storms when they come. There will be days when you wonder if anything is happening. You look at the soil and it seems silent. You water, you tend, you wait, and nothing appears to change. But do not be fooled by the silence. Beneath the surface, roots are spreading. Strength is being established. Foundation is being laid. And when the right season comes, what was hidden will break into the open. That is why you cannot abandon the field in the waiting season. Because the moment you give up is often the moment just before the breakthrough. Seeds also require care. You can't plant once and walk away. You must nurture them. You must pull up the weeds that threaten to choke them. You must guard them from the things that would try to destroy them before they mature. In the same way, vision must be protected. The weeds of doubt, the storms of discouragement, the voices of negativity, all of these can creep in if you aren't intentional. Protect the seed. Cover it in prayer. Water it with perseverance. Tend it with faithfulness. Because when you do, the harvest will come. And the beauty of planting seeds is that the harvest will always outlive the season. One seed multiplies into many. One act of faith produces ripples that extend beyond your own life. What you plant today may not just transform the next 10 years for you, but for those who follow after you. Your children, your community, your legacy, all of them will taste the fruit of the seeds you were faithful to plant and nurture when nobody else was watching. That is the promise of transformation. It begins with something small, but it never ends there. So yes, 10 years can feel long. 10 years can feel slow. But in reality, 10 years is the ground where faithfulness turns into fruitfulness. It is the soil where small acts of obedience produce great outcomes. It is the space where patience perfects the promise. And when those years are complete, the transformation will not be a fragile thing that fades, but a rooted, lasting change that continues to bear fruit long after the decade has passed. That is the power of planting seeds that outlive the season. If there is one truth we cannot escape on the road to transformation, it is that the journey will test us. No 10-year vision will unfold without resistance. No story of lasting change will be written without struggle. Challenges are not interruptions to the plan. They are the very soil where transformation takes root. And though we may wish the path were smooth, it is the bumps, the detours, the valleys, and the storms that shape us into who we are meant to become. The reality is this: every great transformation is born out of adversity. You cannot build strength without resistance. You cannot develop perseverance without delay. You cannot discover faith without facing seasons of uncertainty. Challenges do not mean you are on the wrong path. They are often the clearest confirmation that you are exactly where you need to be. The enemy does not fight what is standing still. He fights what is moving forward. And so when the struggles come, when the pressure mounts, it is a reminder that progress is taking place. There will be times when the dream feels distant, when the weight of waiting presses down, when you wonder if you have the strength to keep going. There will be days when the road feels longer than you thought it would be, and the voices of doubt shout louder than the whispers of hope. And in those moments, it is easy to believe that transformation is slipping through your fingers. But the truth is that transformation is often happening most powerfully in the places we least expect, when we are learning to endure, learning to rise again, learning to hold on to vision, even when circumstances tempt us to let go. Every challenge carries within it an invitation to grow stronger, to trust deeper, to stand taller. Challenges refine us. They strip away what is unnecessary. They burn away what cannot last. They teach us what really matters and what is worth fighting for. And as painful as those lessons can be, they are the very tools that prepare us for the transformation we long to see. Without the refining fire, the gold of our vision would never shine as brightly as it does. But let us be honest, it is not easy. Struggles leave scars. Setbacks drain energy. Disappointments can cut deep. Yet even those scars become part of the story. They are not marks of defeat. They are proof of survival. They testify that you walked through the fire and came out stronger. They remind you and everyone watching that transformation is not for the faint of heart. It requires courage, it demands endurance, and it insists on faith that will not quit. And here is the mystery: in the very places where we feel the weakest, strength is often being built. When we stumble, when we fall, when we cry out and cannot see the way forward, those are the moments when character is being forged. Transformation is not just about what we achieve in 10 years, it is about who we become along the way. The challenges shape us into people who can carry the weight of the vision we have been given. Because what good would it be to reach the place of transformation if we are not ready to sustain it? The struggle ensures that when we arrive, we will not only celebrate but endure. So when difficulties rise up against you, don't despise them. Don't interpret them as signs to quit. Instead, see them as stepping stones, as the chisel shaping your life into something greater. Every obstacle overcome is a testimony that transformation is still alive, still working, still moving forward. Each trial is a reminder that while the journey may be long, the vision is worth every battle along the way. That is why we must embrace the challenges of the journey. When we think about transformation over a span of 10 years, it's easy to imagine some sudden breakthrough, one grand moment that shifts everything at once. But the truth is, lasting change is not built on single moments. It is built on daily faithfulness. It is the steady rhythm of consistency that carries us further than any burst of excitement ever could. Transformation is not about the dramatic start or even the powerful finish. It is about the steps in between, the ones taken day after day when no one is watching and when nothing feels spectacular. Consistency is the quiet engine of progress. It doesn't shout. It doesn't boast. It just shows up again and again until what was once only a dream becomes a reality. Think about it. No farmer plants one day and harvests the next. He returns to the field every morning, tending, watering, pulling weeds, watching over the soil. That rhythm might not feel extraordinary in the moment, but over time it produces a harvest far greater than the effort of a single day. In the same way, consistency in the small things compounds into transformation in the big things. We sometimes underestimate the power of repetition. We think change requires something spectacular, but more often it requires something steady. It's the choice to stay true to the vision when enthusiasm fades. It's the decision to keep showing up even when results are slow. It's the discipline to remain faithful even when distractions call louder than purpose. And when that choice is made over and over again, day by day, year by year, it builds a momentum that nothing can stop. There's a temptation in our world to look for shortcuts, to chase quick fixes, to expect instant results. But shortcuts rarely lead to transformation. They lead to disappointment. What is built quickly often crumbles just as fast. But what is built consistently has roots, and those roots hold firm when the winds of life blow against it. That's why consistency matters so deeply. It is not just about moving forward. It is about building something that will last. And let's be honest, consistency is not glamorous. It is not always celebrated. It doesn't often bring applause. But it is in those uncelebrated moments of faithfulness that the foundation of transformation is laid. No one sees the hours of practice before the performance. No one notices the quiet sacrifices before the success. No one applauds the small, hidden acts of discipline. But without them, the visible breakthrough would never come. Consistency is the bridge between vision and reality. The beauty of consistency is that it multiplies. One faithful step may not look like much, but when repeated over time, it becomes a journey. A small habit may seem insignificant, but practiced over the course of years, it reshapes a life. And that's the secret. Transformation doesn't usually arrive with a single yes. It arrives through thousands of small yeses, repeated over a decade. Yes to discipline. Yes to perseverance. Yes to sacrifice. Yes to the vision that has been set before us. And though consistency may feel slow, its results are certain. The day will come when you look back and realize that what once seemed impossible has been accomplished, not because of one extraordinary effort, but because of daily ordinary choices that built something extraordinary over time. Transformation is never the product of chance. It is the harvest of consistent faithfulness. So when the journey feels long, when the vision feels distant, when you wonder if your effort is making any difference, remember this: every step counts. Every act of faithfulness matters. Every day of showing up moves you closer to the promise. And when you string together days, and those days turn into years, and those years gather into a decade, you will stand in the reality of a transformation that only consistency could have produced. That is why we must hold fast to the power of faithful consistency. Transformation is never the work of one person alone. A vision may begin in the heart of an individual, but it takes a community to carry it forward. No matter how strong, determined, or gifted one person may be, there is a limit to what can be accomplished in isolation. But when people come together, when they unite around a common purpose, the impossible begins to look possible. The load becomes lighter, the journey becomes richer, and the vision that seemed too heavy for one suddenly becomes attainable for many. Unity is not just about walking in the same direction, it is about carrying the same heartbeat. It is more than shared goals, it is shared sacrifice, shared commitment, shared faith. It is knowing that when one is weak, another will be strong. When one feels weary, another will encourage. When one is ready to quit, another will remind them why they started. This kind of unity does more than help us survive the journey. It multiplies our strength and accelerates the transformation. Think about what happens when people work together with one vision. Momentum builds, energy multiplies, barriers that seemed insurmountable begin to break. A vision carried by many hands moves faster and further than a vision carried by one. It is not about losing individuality. It is about discovering the power of what happens when individuality is joined with community. Each person brings something unique, and when those gifts and strengths are combined, they create something far greater than what could have been achieved alone. But building together requires humility. It requires laying aside personal agendas for the sake of the greater vision. It asks us to think beyond ourselves, beyond our preferences, and to embrace something bigger. It calls us to sacrifice, not just for our own progress, but for the good of the whole. And though sacrifice is never easy, the reward is always worth it. Because when you see transformation come to pass, when you see the fruit of unity, you realize that every act of surrender was part of building something lasting. There will be challenges. Anytime people come together, there will be differences. Different personalities, different perspectives, different approaches. Unity does not mean uniformity. It means choosing harmony in the midst of diversity. It means keeping the vision in focus so that disagreements do not become divisions. It means remembering that what unites us is greater than what separates us. And when that choice is made day after day, the strength of the group becomes unshakable. Community also provides accountability. It keeps us from drifting. Alone, it is easy to become distracted, to lose focus, to quietly abandon the vision. But when you are surrounded by people who believe with you, who remind you of the goal, who refuse to let you settle for less, you are pulled forward when your strength alone would have let you stop. That accountability is not a burden, it is a gift. It is one of the greatest blessings of walking together. And perhaps most beautifully, transformation shared is transformation celebrated. When the breakthrough finally comes, when the vision finally becomes reality, the joy is multiplied because it is shared. There is something powerful about standing together and saying, "We did this." Not, "I did this," but "we." The journey becomes more meaningful because it was never traveled alone. The transformation is deeper because it was carried by many hands and many hearts. 10 years is a long road, and no one is meant to walk it by themselves. If we are going to see total transformation, we must embrace the truth that it will take all of us. It will take unity of heart, unity of purpose, and unity of sacrifice. And when we build together, when we choose community over isolation, when we carry one another toward the vision, then the transformation will not only come, it will endure. That is why we must build together, not alone. When you reach the end of a decade, when you stand at that moment and look back at the road you've walked, there is a sense of awe that begins to fill your heart. You remember the days when it felt impossible, the moments when you wondered if you could keep going, the nights when the vision seemed too distant to hold on to. And yet here you are, standing in the reality of transformation. That is worth celebrating. That is worth lifting your hands and saying, God has been faithful, and the journey has been worth it. Celebration is not just about joy in the moment. It is about recognizing what has been accomplished. It's about seeing how far you've come, remembering the struggles you've overcome, and acknowledging the growth that has taken place. It's about giving thanks for the seeds that were planted, the challenges that refined you, the consistency that carried you, and the people who stood beside you. Without celebration, we miss the fullness of transformation. Without pausing to honor the journey, we forget that the destination did not come easily. It came through years of sacrifice, faith, and endurance. But here is the beauty of transformation. Even when you stop to celebrate, you realize that it is not the end. It is not a finish line. It is a launching pad. One vision fulfilled becomes the foundation for another vision to begin. Transformation does not mark the closing of the story. It marks the beginning of a greater one. Because when you see what has been accomplished in 10 years, you start to believe in what could be accomplished in the next. Faith grows. Courage deepens. Expectation rises. Transformation fuels transformation. It's tempting to think that once we've reached a milestone, we can rest and settle there. But transformation is never meant to make us comfortable. It is meant to awaken us to possibility. It shows us what can happen when vision is clear, when faith is steady, when people walk together, and when consistency is embraced. And once you've seen the fruit of that, how could you not hunger for more? Not more for the sake of striving, but more because you recognize that what has happened in 10 years is only the beginning of what God can do with a surrendered life, a united people, and a steadfast vision. Celebration then becomes a balance of gratitude and anticipation. Gratitude for what has been done and anticipation for what is yet to come. Gratitude that honors the past and anticipation that prepares for the future. Gratitude that says, look what God has done, and anticipation that whispers, just wait until you see what He will do next. That is the rhythm of transformation. It points backward in thankfulness and forward in hope. And in this, we are reminded that transformation is not just about us. The fruit of 10 years of vision and faithfulness extends beyond our own lives. Others will taste of it. Others will walk in it. Others will be inspired by it. Transformation multiplies. It leaves a legacy. What you celebrate today becomes the testimony that will give courage to someone else tomorrow. The very story of your transformation becomes the seed of another's vision. And so the cycle continues as generation after generation builds upon the faithfulness of those who came before. That's why the celebration matters so much. It is not only about closing a chapter, it is about opening the door to the next one. It is a declaration that the vision was not in vain, the journey was not wasted, the sacrifice was not meaningless. It is a reminder that every step had purpose and every year mattered. And when you celebrate, you give honor where honor is due, and you prepare your heart for the new vision that is ready to be birthed. So when the decade comes to a close, when you look back at one vision carried, 10 years lived, and a transformation realized, do not just stop at the celebration. Lift your eyes again. Look forward. because the story is not finished. The transformation you see today is only the beginning of what tomorrow will bring. That is why we celebrate transformation while anticipating even more.